Deadlines are set for a reason. They usually mean this is the very last moment you can do something if you expect a positive result. Deadline to turn in a school paper, or you're going to get marked down for it being late. A deadline to pay your taxes, or you're going to pay a late fee. A deadline to board a plane, or it's just going to leave without you. You know, we got a few messages into our newsroom this morning from people who told us they did meet a deadline, but they didn't get the outcome they should have. A few people told us they didn't get their absentee ballot, even though they requested it before the deadline to do so. And we're hearing this from voters who live in the county with Idaho's highest voter turnout. That would be Ada County. The Ada County Elections Office tells us they were told by the US Postal Service up to 753 people did not receive their absentee ballots in the mail. Now, that doesn't mean those people can't vote. It just means they'd have to show up at the polls to do so. An inconvenience, defeating the purpose of the absentee ballot in the first place. But it can also pose a problem, a serious problem. Here's Andrew Barline.
It's normally not a question of if, but when.
I look at voting as both a responsibility and a right.
But this year, Jeff Scott, he questioned if he had a vote at all by way of an absentee ballot.
You know, I was planning to be out of town, so I sent in for an absentee ballot. But come Monday afternoon, I was like, I haven't gotten a ballot yet.
A ballot he planned to need well before Election Day.
I actually chose to cancel my travel plans because I wanted to make sure I could vote.
The absent ballot soon turned present, but the night before the election, defeating its intended purpose.
When you look at it, the ballot has to be received by 8 p.m. today. So I could no longer mail it at that point because I couldn't guarantee that it would get there. But it just seemed ironic to me that, you know, an absentee ballot is about being absent and being able to still cast your vote.
Jeff's right about the 8 p.m. deadline, but he's been cutting this election close from the beginning.
Granted, I think I did it on the last day you could request them.
Which was 11 days before the November 7th election. The Ada County Elections Office made it clear absentee ballots can take up to 10 days before they arrive.
I didn't know that until I went to go request my ballot. You know, that's when they tell you that.
It's a problem Jeff could fix.
In this situation this year, it was a convenience for me to some extent because I could change my plans.
And his ballot, it's now made its way into the right hands.
I actually only am in Ada County here. I had one item to vote on, the jail, and I wanted to make my voice heard.
The Idaho Secretary of State's office says anyone in a similar situation can still vote in person at the polls in the event their absentee ballot does not arrive in time. Anyone waiting on an absentee ballot can also check its status at the Secretary of State's website.
You know, it said it had been mailed, and that was the only information.
Answering the question of if, but not when.
I can't remember if it gave the date of when it was mailed or not.
Going forward, Scott's now focused on when he requests his absentee ballot, to beat not just the lines, but also the deadlines.
You know, maybe they should, you know, make the deadline for asking for your absentee ballot sooner so that they can have it to you at least, you know, 5 days before the election so you can actually mail it in or such.
Going forward, Jeff says he's going to make it a point not to wait until the very end to that deadline to request his absentee ballot if he so chooses to do that in the future, because at that point it's in the hands of the Postal Service. Mail can take time, Brian. There's unexpected delays, and of course they say 6 to 10 days. Again, things could be unexpected. It might take longer. As we learned, 700-something people in Ada County might not get their absentee ballots today.
And I think that's why they set those deadlines, because, like, what's the absolute last time we can ask for this ballot that we can send it out and trust the mail service to get there? But even if they move it up by a day or two, you're still going to be dealing with that.
Yeah, so going forward, absentee balloters, if you want to rely on that, earlier the better, otherwise you might be gambling a little bit.
Okay, so the serious problem of 753, we haven't heard a lot of people saying that they won't be able to vote as of now because of that, though. I'm sure that's a possibility where people now, because they don't have that absentee, will not vote.
Well, I mean, if you think about somebody who might have transportation issues or somebody who might have a disability, then yeah, going to the polls might not be a great option for them. So it's potentially possible, but for somebody like them who are retired, they just wanted a convenience.
Sure.
They're planning on leaving town. Luckily for them, they were able to make it work today.
Still leaving town?
Tomorrow, he says.
Had to
So
push
they're
it back.
delayed another day, and again, I guess that's the luxury of being retired, right?
Yep, exactly. All right, thank you very much, Andrew.